Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
I don't think they're amenities, but like we do laundry, partial laundry and stuff like that. And I haven't walked around to where most of you stay in 15, 20 years. The Outer Line Cabins, Carrington Cottage, and Chauffeurs, other than at a hardcore, I've been to Chauffeur's Cottage because I go in there, one group of you, at the last hardcore, which was last December. I haven't been around the golf course in 10 years, maybe more. I haven't played on the golf course or swung a club. I didn't play. I swung a club on my 60th birthday. Most of the rooms, when I can't sleep at night, I count the rooms in the estate. And I count the bathrooms. I start out with the bathrooms. And I got up to 23 bedrooms. I didn't think we had that many. But anyway, I must have been getting drowsy. But in the castle, there's some rooms I haven't been in 20 years, maybe longer. And it's the primary reason I didn't buy a Skibo Castle many years ago, Andrew Carnegie's place, because it had 105 rooms. We only have about 70. And it had, I couldn't imagine, all the money that I'd spent renovating this place. I said, fuck. I mean, I'll go bankrupt renovating that place. And of course, a couple years ago when Sally took me for my birthday, I was glad I didn't buy it. But a lot of, I was reading some emails last night before I went to bed that, by the way, I gave you bad information last night, which is not the only bad information I've ever given. I thought you were watching David Pham last night, but you're not. You the number one guy in America, How to Build America. But anyway, and I was on my soapbox telling you about you don't want to make the sacrifices, but you want the money, blah, blah, blah. But so I got some emails last night about, the houses some of the guys are buying, and gals. And I just feel like telling them, you have no clue what you're getting yourself into. Last year, we spent $1.25 million in just maintenance for this place. $1.25 million. That's pounds, not dollars. Our lifetime boiler, I happen to know a lot about boilers because I was pissed off. Last time I bought a boiler was Lifetime. I mean, why am I buying another boiler when it was Lifetime the last time? And well, that's not what they really mean, Mr. Peña. Well, what does Lifetime mean? Well, it means normally 10 to 15 years. So anyway, just a couple of boilers is 50 grand, pounds. It used to be, before the energy crisis, it used to cost us $10 a day to have the heaters on. $10 a day. That's not 24 hours. That was like 10 or 12 hours, $10 a day, 10 pounds a day. Now it costs about 40 pounds a day to have the heaters on. And so the guys and gals that aspire to have these big estates, normally, like the saying goes, the two happiest days of my life is the day I bought my boat and the day I sold my boat. I've lived that too. I can't say the same for planes. I really enjoyed the planes. But there's no way, unless you fudge the numbers, that you can justify a plane. I mean, just not. But you go through these cycles. It's not cycle. It's like a drunken sailor has been at sea for 3 years and hasn't had a drink or had sex, and so they go nuts when they go on land. Well, when you first make your first big tranche of money, you go, well, not everybody. Mostly guys. Gals are pretty sane, but mostly guys just buy shit that you don't need. It shouldn't be sold to the public, actually. But you go and buy the shit because you see various people. When I got my first helicopter, I forget who I saw with the helicopter, but that made sense to me. Now, I needed a helicopter back in the 80s and 90s like I need AIDS. Although it was convenient to fly from right on the lawn here to Heathrow, land about 50 meters from the helicopter, or the jet, which you can't do anymore, and then walk onto the jet and then fly to London. I took the helicopter once to London. That was work. I mean, so I only did that one time, but I flew it many times to Heathrow, a couple of times to Aberdeen. But these are things a couple of you are starting to enjoy because you've made what you would consider some significant amount of money. 10 years from now, assuming you're still around, I'm going to be around, I'll ask you whether you did the right thing or the wrong thing. But this seminar is a learning curve, an extension, as it were, although there have been plenty of people. Remember, 99% of the people that have succeeded with QLA I've never met. Never came to the seminar, like this young man who just came to the seminar a month or two ago and is now back, but was real successful. But for the most part, the kids I never met. And so the kids that I talk about are the kids that I know, one, and two, allow me to use their name. And that's not everybody. Last night you saw my Motivation Monday thing, which is probably as good a encapsulation of the program and what it takes to be successful in the program that we've ever done. It's 4 minutes long. And it gets back to, you don't do what your parents tell you to do. You do what you saw them do. And for the most part, most of the people that have ever come through the seminar have not had high-performance parents. Occasionally, we had some kids come through that had high-performance parents. But then you have to divide what's really high performance. Is living in this dates me. If you lived in a $2 million house when I was growing up, you were fucking filthy rich. Okay? That same $2 million house is probably now $15 million. I didn't know anybody in the $2 million house. I only knew where the $2 million houses were. And the cars and the various other things, clothes, etc., jewelry, mostly for women, although some of the guys. Somehow I passed the bling stage. Is that what they call it when you hang all that shit on you? Bling? Is that what it's called? I passed the bling stage. I'm not too bling orientated. But you saw that, and then you saw the first episode of the guys that made America. And you're going to see some more of those. And then during the day, you're going to see some webinars, one of which he gave a webinar a few weeks ago, although he's here sitting here, but you're going to listen to it. Again, with David Pham, which I misquoted last night, and Nelly, who's the kid in Johannesburg, who is building a conglomerate, who has done very, very well. He taped a little webinar for us in the November seminar. And he specifically wanted me to show before and after pictures of him. That he's moved his family to Cape Town because of safety. It's not that safe. You can make a lot of money in Johannesburg, but it's not that safe. I'm not sure if he runs a gun convoy, but when he's going from Mozambique to that, other places, it's fairly dangerous. Again, it's not everybody's cup of tea making money in the African continent. There's plenty of money to be made. And as I've quoted more than once, when Mandela got out of prison and he became president of South Africa, he was bright enough, he's a bright guy, but he was bright enough to know that probably the black population would not be able to rule themselves financially. So he set a secondary and a tertiary banking system up. And that's where the QLA bots are getting rich off of, the secondary and tertiary banking systems. Whereas non-recourse money is the name of the game. And we're going to redefine non-recourse just for those of you that may not be entirely knowledgeable about that. And where you don't sign your name, non-guaranteeing. And Anelli has done an absolute superb job in filling his pockets. But remember, when he came here to the seminar 3 or 4 years ago, he had an existing business. He had about 100 employees. And as he says in the webinar, I did everything wrong. I had all my relatives there. I had a small accountant, a small-time lawyer, because I was always scared of paying big fees. I didn't realize what I was giving up on the knowledge end of how much more effective a KPMG or a Pricewaterhouse is than my local Joe Schmo accounting firm. He walked away from his business, which was very successful, and sold it to his employees on a leveraged buyout, which we've talked about during the regular seminar. And he took an allowance from them for he thought he was only going to have to take an allowance from his old company as part of the leveraged buyout of his employees buying him for 3 or 4 months, but he went cash positive in the 7th month. Now, I'm going to stop here for a minute. Cash positive. That means from a deal or deals, you don't have to live off your savings. You don't have to live on your wife's salary, your husband's salary, your mother-in-law, or your dad's money, your money. 7 months cash positive is pretty outstanding. We haven't had that many. And I know a number of you, I get emails, which I don't answer, and Kim gets calls from you about how much money do I need to have in the bank till I'm cash positive. One, we don't know how much money you spend. Two, we don't know the kind of deals that you're looking at. But normally it's 4 or 5 deals. Now, cash positive, is that cash positive for you to draw a salary? Or is that cash positive for the directors to get paid? Is that cash positive that you don't need delayed fees? There's a lot of ifs. But rarely do any of you that's ever come through the seminar in 29 plus years get to cash positive based on your plan, based on your spreadsheet, because it always takes longer and costs more. Those are kind of, and if you pay taxes, not everybody pays taxes, but it's like taxes, eventually you got to pay them or you get in trouble. Unless you do like the bitfuck kid, you go to various parts of the world that have no extradition. And we have had a few kids do that. Okay, questions or comments about the first movie you said about building America? Was it Andrew Carnegie? Who? Vanderbilt, okay. Thoughts about Vanderbilt? Is that because you can all relate to Vanderbilt? If that's it, you're bullshitting yourself. I still remember when you said, whenever it was, that we were asking what attributes of Steve Jobs, and you said, sitting right there with that bald guy off your left shoulder, that you felt that you had some of the characteristics of Steve. Remember that? Maybe you don't remember. You don't remember? No? Well, you did. We have it on film. And I jumped up and started screaming and yelling. I haven't had a guy or a gal in the seminar that's had any of Steve Jobs' characteristics other than one: not quitting. That's it. That's it. That's the only. And you can say that for not just Jobs, but virtually all the high-performance people that we talk about. Now, Elon Musk is the flavor of the day, even though he may be a little out of favor now because of whatever he's doing at Twitter, and I don't really give a shit what he does there. If he wanted to pay $44 billion, that's his life. I don't care. But if Mr. Obama, the former president of the United States, hadn't allowed approximately two $500 million grants, Elon Musk would not be a comma in the history of time. Not a comma. Not a period. Certainly not an exclamation mark. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Mr. Musk, but I'd rather be lucky than smart. some of you can maybe relate to that since you've been out there a while now. But if he hadn't gotten those two $500 million grants, one of which he was successful with, one of which he wasn't. But nobody talks about that. And so when I hear him not cry or lament that he sleeps on the shop floor, I sleep in the toilet. Somebody gave me $500 million. I mean, what great sacrifice is that? So nothing about Vanderbilt. Yes, your mic, please.
Yeah. There was Vanderbilt, and there was also a Rockefeller played a large part in the episode last night. So there were a number of deals between these various magnates, all of which ended up being broken, which you have the right to do under, countries that follow British law. A contract could be broken. You just have to pay the damages. At one point, Rockefeller talks about, a verbal contract's okay. Well, it's easier to break the verbal contract. But the point I really gathered from that is that you need alliances. You shouldn't have alliances with friends because sooner or later you're going to fuck them. And you'll feel better if they're not friends. I'm sorry I'm not as tough as,
Well, I mean,
what I picked up.
No, well, I mean, you're absolutely right. For those of you that remember when I think we played the founder of McDonald's, and he had a handshake deal with the McDonald's brothers, which meant nothing, okay? Well, I've had two handshake deals in my career that lasted through time. One is with Bruce Whipple, almost 30 years, and the other one was with Suharto, the dictator of Indonesia, rapist, murderer. 25 years he honored my deal. No contract. Well, and I know he did all kind of bad things. I mean, you can't even list the kind of bad stuff that he did, but he never did that to me. So as far as I know or I'm concerned, he honored that contract. But handshake contracts are not worth much. They're just not. But you're absolutely correct. But all those guys, just like in the Andrew Carnegie movie, some of you may have seen during the regular seminar, when he screws his mentor gets in trouble and he needs some money, and Mr. Carnegie chose not to help him at all. Anything else about? Yes, sir.
It's always the same. They're just ruthless.
Yeah. Remember graduation night for all of you. I try to say roughly the same thing. I put it in different words. But I told you if you have to be anything, to be selfish. And that's the antithesis of, we've had one or two kids that came through the program that weren't taught not to be selfish. They both came from orphanages. They both were in prison young. And that's not something they teach you in prison to not be. You have to be selfish to exist in prison life. Although I've been in jail, I've never been in prison. But and it's just, we're going to see a slide pretty soon about DNA. And it's not in our DNA. Some of the things I've taken a lot of heat from this. Don't you want to share your toys with Johnny? Fuck Johnny. His parents should have been more wealthy. And that's certainly not how you're taught. And for those of you that are parents, that's not how you're teaching your kids. But, it's survival of the fittest. Now, in this particular case, it's not normally life and death, but it's your financial life and death. Anything else about Mr. Vanderbilt? Yes, sir.
They did it for the pleasure of winning.
Yeah. I say, I can't remember the last time I lost. Most of you can't remember the last time you won, if you ever won. And now, that's a slight exaggeration. I've lost at golf and some other things, and tennis. But I mean, in big deals, I really can't. They want to win. Their competitive nature is beyond your wildest imagination. I'm involved in a couple of big deals, and it's been a long time since I stayed up all night to read documents and look at webinars and tapes. But I've done it a couple of nights here in the last 10 days. And in full transparency, at 77, I can't stay up as long and stay focused. I stayed up 2 or 3 hours, and I slept an hour. Then I slept 2, but before, when I was as young as some of you in this room, I could go 2 or 3 days, no problem. My fear is that when I go to sleep, I'll forget to wake up. But I have a mental thing, I want to wake up in about an hour. So I wake up maybe an hour and 5 minutes or 47 minutes. So I still have that ability, but I don't have that same physical ability to be able to stay up night after night. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Sir, I observed that both Vanderbilt and Rockefeller were constantly innovating their businesses. They were competitive. They were looking to solve problems through innovation. It was the only way to outcompete their competitors.
That's absolutely correct. Okay, YouTube, goodbye.